Welcome to the Software People Stories. I'm Shiv.
I'm Chitra,
And I'm Gayatri.
We bring you interesting, untold stories of people.
associated with the creation
Or consumption of software-based solutions.
You'll hear stories of what worked.
and sometimes what didn't,
You will also hear very personal experiences.
and insights that would trigger your thoughts.
And inspire you to do even greater things. Hi, today we are having a very interesting conversation with SK, Principal, PM Power Consulting, where he starts talking about ERP implementation for floor mechanics till the CEO of the company. And he traces how agility has transformed in how relationships are formed and how education is being given both for the students as well as how teachers can adapt. And he traces very interesting analogies on how it can be applied using AI and ML. Listen on.
Hi SK, welcome to the Software People Stories
Hi, good morning, Gayatri.
and welcome to your
How are
very
you?
first podcast recording. I'm very good, thank you. How are you doing, SK?
Doing very good.
I'm so interested to hear your story on your life journey. So, we want to get you started from the beginning. What got you started into the software industry? What has been your journey?
That's interesting. I was introduced to software, interestingly, by an author, Tamil writer, Sujatha. He wrote a book in Tamil called Computer in Kadai. I read it when I was in 8th standard or something. I'm
Okay.
talking about 84, 85 times,
All right.
1984, 85 times, and maybe around around that time. It was like pretty interesting, and that I got very inspired by that and wanted to experiment with that, wanted to try. So I took computer science and plus one, plus two, and started from there. And I did not do engineering, but I did more of physics. I'm more of a physics kind of a physics person, physics and science, and that was more into research thing. Got an opportunity to study in Cochin University where we did artificial intelligence and robotics. That was one of its course at that time, and I'm talking about early 90s. So it was there I had a very good professors and good peers. That artificial intelligence actually took me to a different level of interest. And from there, of course, industry was booming and got into industry.
Very nice, very nice. I have been a Sujatha fan myself for a long time. I have not got inspired from the computer story part of it. Very interesting.
Yeah, there are two books I would say. One is Computer in Kadai, the other one is Silicon Sillu Purachi. In Tamil, both of them very early. I just remember, I mean, getting anybody introduced to it at that time when the material, internet, nothing was there. For millennials, people, it will sound very odd today, but I'm talking about early 80s, mid 80s, and late 80s. It was very useful.
Really? And this is a time when your computers were like room size and affordability in India was not that high. Makes perfect sense. You have been working in smaller firms, right? In your early start of your career. How was that?
It was very good actually. It was actually my own company. I had it was a startup with my friend, and we were doing more of ERP for textile mills, spinning mills, and we traveled down south and Tamil Nadu, part of Tamil Nadu and South India.
Okay.
The interesting part was we were developing everything, sitting with the customer. We are the analysts, we were the developers, we were the testers, we were the production people, and we will do everything. So that way, the customers are the people who test. They sit with us. So that was amazing experience. And later, when we were introduced to the formal agile, it was so natural to us because that's what we've been doing out of necessity, and that was the right thing to do.
Right. We keep talking about customer, right? Customer centricity and everything. You are actually sitting right next to the customer. Very cool.
Exactly. And we were doing it out of necessity, and out of that is the best thing to do because we do not have a scale and everything. And that when we later came to know about agile principles and everything, it was so natural to us, like, oh, this is exactly what we've been doing.
And you also did a lot of those Ant scripts and all DevOps as well, or how was that like?
everything. So we have to deploy it. We have to make sure it is absorbed or adopted by the customer. That because we'll say, for example, in spinning mill, we are talking about MIS used by the top management. Interestingly, the first one we developed is the chairman of the company was an auditor. He's a well versed, very reputed person in that field. And his idea of looking at some of the costing and activity-based costing, etc., were slightly ahead of the curve in the industry. So we were introduced to that level when we were very young. And the other extreme is supervisor, the shift, who is just a diploma holder, had in production data. So end of the day, we have to work with both of them. I'll be working with the supervisor, key in the data and make it as usable as possible. Please remember, these are days I'm talking about, 94, 95. Where we were using Clipper, some of the Foxbase, some of the Novel Netware was the operating system where we communicate through LAN cables running across the factories. So that was like how to make it usable, how to make it easy. And then give the MIS report, talk to the MD or the chairman at a level where we will be talking about activity-based costing. What piece of cotton lying on the floor will cost to the production, to the selling price, how they are related, how they are connected to that level of detail. That is amazing.
Okay. My professor used to call, Dr. Bala Balachandran used to say, any consultant should be able to talk from the shop floor to the top floor. It sounds like exactly you did right at the start of your career. Fantastic.
Oh, seriously. we could actually run a mill. We have done that also. We can run a few shifts to that level of detail.
So from there, you're a co-founder of your company. And what was the next journey from there?
Oh, yeah. From there, we took as usual entrepreneur. Only thing is, we were not in Silicon Valley. So we were not going for VC funding or anything. We had our own investors who were from the industry. Interestingly, most of our investors were our clients. Initial set of clients wanted to invest and they wanted to grow it. So they joined us and we grew. We had decent, close to 20 customers, spinning mills, all reasonable size spinning mills across South India. We were doing good. And we also got into some, at the time, NIIT was very popular. So we got into franchisee model, took one franchise of NIIT and all that. Okay. And the thing happened, a bubble bust happened. Suddenly, IT was... all the investors were non-IT investors. So they were like, shall we move to different industry? We felt more, no, myself and my partner and friend, who is from my classmate from 1986. He was my desk mate. And from there, we've been doing on the journey together even today. Thank God. Okay. We decided, okay, we'll stick to industry and decided to move and came back to industry formally. I came to Chennai and got into a startup, which is more of a supply chain management product company. The founders were based out of California, but development was happening here.
ERP to a CM may have been a very
SCM, yeah, but both are in the, I would say it was also more on the production side of things in supply chain management and more of a forecast demand rationalization and all that. It was interesting and we were so used to that space. So it was good.
Sounds brilliant, SK. I know you from the ThoughtWorks days, right? You have spoken in so many conferences and speaker around metrics and agility and everything. So yeah, I know your passion and where you started with Agile. How was your experiences there?
You mean in ThoughtWorks?
Yes.
Okay. ThoughtWorks, when I was from startup, I was in a service company for some time. And when I was got introduced to the formal Agile and all that, I was so interested and came across ThoughtWorks. ThoughtWorks was at the time, they were in Bangalore. They were not in Chennai. And I thought, okay, maybe if I have to work in a company, I'm not a big fan of working for a corporate. So if I were to work in a corporate, I thought either I should work for Google or the alternate next choice is ThoughtWorks. But only thing is I do not want to go out of Chennai. So whenever they open office in Chennai, I will join. And the moment I came to know about it, I applied and the first person to be offered for Chennai office from outside.
Oh, wow. You are the first employee in hired for Chennai.
Yes. Yeah. There were other folks who moved from other offices, existing ThoughtWorkers, close to 7-8 people, but officially employee offered for Chennai office was me.
And you had spent a bit of time in ThoughtWorks looking at the India market, right? How different is India market?
That's a good one. ThoughtWorks was a 8+ years journey for me, and out of which I did play a few roles and was working with different geographies and more into delivery side of things. And last 2.5 years, I would say we were looking more from India perspective. What do we do? ThoughtWorks India started looking at if India can grow its own market, how it will be. So I came into the picture slightly later and started working with, got a very good team actually. So started working with a few opportunities and got introduced to a few very interesting entrepreneurs. I would say somebody to work with works. We usually tell them they had to be courageous. They should be willing to take it forward, be in the journey to. Otherwise, that model may not work effectively. It has to go with mutual trust. And Agile also talks about mutual trust. So when somebody works with mutual trust, collaborate with ThoughtWorks that way, they see benefits. And that was very interesting working with especially the media space. Most of them were initial set of customers were from the media space and very, very interesting people.
Interesting, SK. You are saying so. You are saying about people. Whenever we speak about technology at the previous conversations, now I've heard jargons around technology, deep learning, right? While when you speak about it, you speak from a people angle, relationships, trust. It's very interesting way to look at it. Particularly when you say that when you speak at an entrepreneur level where they are looking at quarter to quarter, ensuring that their vision with what they are trying to do. So is that really the key ingredient as far as building a relationship is concerned?
In my experience, I have actually relationship with entrepreneurs at different levels, especially different age groups. And one thing I notice is basically you build trust when you talk genuinely about what is the risk and what is the benefit. And don't shy away from saying that this may not work, this might work, and why it may not work, how we could make it work. Instead of looking for profits, instead of looking for business, if we talk about what is a value, how we could help each other, that works better. And I think it works in any personal relationship also, generally. With the healthy adults, if you talk about analysis, two adults having conversation, genuinely, it works.
Very, very cool. In the agile world, we keep talking about ROAM or risk management and everything. But at a risk management, personally, if you explain to folks, particularly non-IT folks, right, who are not in the technology world, explaining it to them as to potential issues, I think that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. In fact, one of the customers used to tell me, like the conventional software, the audience will be waiting for something on the stage. There is a screen, and somebody from behind the screen will just speak and say, "Oh, we'll start in some way, short while, wait," and they will be waiting. Instead, Agile is more like no screens. We are preparing. You know what is preparing, what is happening in the preparation. We collaborate together.
So there is no kitchen and the front door.
Everything is transparent. Yes.
Is that your passion in the software world, SK? Agility and agile ways of working?
That's a good question actually. Yes, that initially I did not know what was driving, and later at some point when I hit the typical middle age, I realized that one thing which drives me or which did not bore me any day is about agility. When I say agility, it could be technology, it could be business, it could be anything you do. How will you make things work which is nimble, which is fast, which is fail fast, which will recover from challenges? So that was driving me. In fact, moving out of ThoughtWorks, we wanted to of course, we are doing consulting. I'm doing a consulting as an agile coach. I'm a consultant. Also, one other thing we try to do, or we are still on it, is kickstart a startup on the education space. And the focus is not on technology or anything. Of course, we are technology people. We will build things, tools, but primary is agility in education. How will you bring agility in education? That was one of the driving things. And we have tried multiple things. We have tried that in healthcare also. When I say agility, it's not about developing software faster and delivering faster. It is about, as a business, how will you get agility? How will you be agile in business?
Okay, interesting. When you look at traditional metrics, right, when you say agility, we talk about concept to cash. From the time you think that this is a potential way in which you can tap it, and then you get it, right? When can you realize that business value? So what are those things that in an education world that practitioners can look up to?
Yeah, concept to cash definitely is one of the important metric for agility. One more I also look at is the ability to recover from catastrophes. How good or solid their fundamentals are and safety nets are built. Say, for example, if a software, when you develop software, if software crashes, how good the safety net will help us recover faster, and will make sure the system is up and running soon, quicker. Similarly, for a business agility means twofold. One is they are able to get things faster into the market, that is concept to cash, and they are able to stay ahead of the curve of their competition, and they are doing very good. So, for example, I can take an example of SPI Cinema, Satyam Cinema, Chennai. They are very popular. They are always slightly ahead of the curve in the user experience, and they think, I have interacted with head of the business, and he is like amazingly focused on user experience, customer experience. So he takes it to the next level, always works ahead. Similarly, if you look at current situation now with the lockdown and across the world, every business is a grinding halt. How will you recover from this scenario very quickly? Say, for example, education, coming back to education, when 2015 floods happened in Chennai, most of the schools could not operate for 1.5 months. They were closed. Most of the education institutions, unfortunately, are not agile. When I say not agile, they have a notes of lesson, they have built their syllabus, everything set in the year, beginning of the year. After that, it is left to the teachers. They will skip here and there and just try to manage and leave it. Is there a way where they can adapt very quickly, like we do in software development, adapt in such a way that the basic, necessary, important concepts are not missed out? Now it is happening. I'm not saying it is not happening, but happening it depends on the teacher. Some of the teachers are very good. They will do it great. But majority of the teachers most of the teachers might find it very difficult. They would need help. If there is a way we can help them get it done. Say in the current scenario, when everything is shut down, you don't know when the schools will open, when the education institutions will open. How are you going to handle it? Actually, technology can come in very, very handy here. I'm not talking about running video classes. That is, of course, it's happening. It is very good. But that's not the only thing. We have to look at how will you do from assessment, from the initial introduction to the concepts to the verification of the learning and a confirmation that they have learned, and also understand the conceptual understanding of the learner. All these things had to be tied together and made up. There are a lot of things can be done in that space. That is one of the things we are working on.
That's a very cool way to think about it, not necessarily as a business, but more from students' perspective. Right? That's all. They are also a very critical stakeholder.
Yes.
In terms of saying each student's way of learning may be different. In a class, to some extent, you will kind of normalize because there are questions, that are interactions are happening. Over here, instead of having N:N kind of an interaction, it's all within the person who's delivering it. Particularly in a video class, assessments, everything is happening within the room. So it must be a mind-boggling puzzle to have this solved, right?
Yes. In fact, just having video classes without enough technology, it's not going to help them, because the teachers will, in a classroom, when they have 20 students, 30 students, they get to gauge the students to an extent, their understanding of the concepts to an extent, even if they do a reasonable job. But when you run a remote class, it is very difficult. There are some interactive quizzes and this, that they will ask, but that's not enough. So there are things like a knowledge graph and concept map, and those things can be utilized very effectively in this space, and a lot of research has been done in that space. You see a lot of papers from 2014, 2015 in that space, but still it has not come into mainstream yet. A lot can be done in that space, and that is one area where we are really interested, passionate, but right now it is run as a pet project, so it will take its own sweet time. I'm not even thinking about commercializing it.
Having users is the first thing, right? There's a different business model that comes in.
Yes.
You first look for users who will start using it, and then you get into how do you commercialize it, how do you get that? I think
now, even before that, we have to even build tools and experiment with some of it. So that itself is a humongous task. So we are at it. We are going very slow. That's one thing which is driving us now.
Okay, it's very interesting to think about it from a concept map. We normally use mind maps, concept map, user story map, and everything from a user experience perspective, right? The Satyam Cinema example that you shared is not from a technology. You're actually taking it out and said, end to end, a person walks in or walks into your website to the time where they get back to their home. How can you give an end to end experience?
Yes.
At every point in time, it could be a cinema going experience, or it could be from an education experience.
Yeah, true. And education is a lifelong journey. Interestingly, cinema, movie, maybe a 4-5 hours thing. Education is going to be a lifelong journey, and people invest heavily on that. When I say invest, it's not money, they invest their time. Kids are put into schools and like they go through 20 plus years of their life, cream of their life in that place. How are we going to help them enjoy that? And especially one thing I'm disheartening to see that children, when they hit 11, 12 years of age, they get disconnected with the education system, especially in a mass education system like Asia, Southeast Asia, and many parts of Asia, to an extent on the West also. So how can we make it better? How can we make it interesting for them? It's not just video and things. There are many things can be done. A lot of research has gone in that space.
Agree. See, when we were growing up, at least 80s and 90s, there was a clear view that there has to be a food on the table. You got to work. There is a tectonic shift, right? The need has gone away from the want, right? So anything. Right now, there are plethora of opportunities, and where do you want to go? That also brings a lot of dilemma, decision dilemma, and everything. That what we didn't have, those opportunities and dilemmas are much higher as far as children of this day can go.
True. Especially most of my experiences are with the Asian countries, and a lot of in this area, the upper middle class and the growing economy and the next set of people coming in, their wants are different. As you said, it has moved from need and it has gone to next level. How do you keep the momentum up? How do you keep them interested, engaged, and take it to next level? A lot can be done in that.
So talking about education, you coach colleges and school students in writing apps, right? Mobile apps. How did that get started? And were there any challenges that you encountered when you had to interact directly with the students?
Yeah, that started as more of side project or pet project. It's again, when in ThoughtWorks, I was part of recruitment, and we traveled length and breadth of the country hiring people from colleges. So one of the things we found is unemployability of students coming out of colleges. So we were trying to see how do we help, and we got engaged with one of the colleges where a couple of colleges where the professors and the faculty were passionate, really interested, because we don't want to do it for money or anything. Money is not a point. So we are investing our time. We go to their place. We spend time over the weekends. When I say we, I have a couple of my friends also interested. So we were trying to see how to make them employable, because one of the challenges, all these professors have never taken any meaningful app to production ever in their life, and they are teaching them. It is as if in medical school, if a doctor has never attended a patient and they are teaching the students, how it will be.
Okay.
So very unfortunate that position. So we are trying to help the students see how to build an app and take it to production. It is not about writing a factorial program. What does it mean to actually work something to work for the end user? We were trying to connect the pieces end to end to the students, and it was going good. But last couple of years we were going slow because the other project and the passion also takes time. So we're trying to balance it. We have to restart it. That's good that you brought it up.
Very nice, SK. I think keeping those multiple realms too, and also keeps you as engaged, right, as a person. We keep talking from your soul also has to feed. I love what you're talking about from education and moving into the social consciousness part of it. Coming back to the software world, right? Apart from agility, what are your other passions now? What are you learning now?
Right now, it will sound pretty trivial. Going back to again my artificial intelligence days and starting up with artificial intelligence again. But this time, only thing I'm trying to do is I have to do a lot of catch up from what I have studied and where it is now, spending some time there, and connecting artificial intelligence, AI, machine learning, etc., to the knowledge graph and concept map, and that is the area I'm working right now.
Oh, that sounds mighty interesting.
Yeah, I have to explain. That will be like next couple of hours. The thing what I'm trying to do. So
I can think of so many follow-on episodes in this very rich conversation. Okay? I'm actually holding my reins in so that I don't get into that. You can do some blue sky forecasting, right, on where the technology and the software is moving towards. What would they be?
One thing we'll see immediately in the next few years will be improvement in the way we interact with the systems. Like voice already is in. We have to improvise on it and we have to get rid of these interfaces. Already it is in research lab. It has to come to commercial market where instead of holding you speak, everybody else listen to it. All that will be out. So conversation will become more private. Sometimes you may not even need to open your mouth to speak. So it will go to that level, next level. And more intuitive, it will become more intuitive. That is the immediate next thing will happen. And AI will take a different level in terms of, we all know the progress being made on the unmanned vehicles and all. It will go to different level. When I say different level, we may not be able to imagine even what are the areas it could actually get into, and kind of developments could happen in terms of, say, blockchain, using blockchain in, say, for example, land registration records, and it could be many facets of e-governance. The whole world could actually potentially move into a different level in the next 10 to 15 years, especially if you look at blockchain and all digital currency, and it can go to a different level.
Wow. So there are three big areas that you're talking about. One is neurons talking to each other without even a word being spoken. Second is creating a model where looking at unmanned vehicles to deep learning and AI being used in different, and then e-governance. It's a very interesting world where we are speaking about certificates being rewritten and everything in education field. I can immediately see so many applications there in blockchain. Wonderful.
True. Next 15-20 years is going to be very interesting.
I almost feel old when I talk to younger kids and younger ones who are just starting digitally. They start, and it is important to keep that beginner's mindset of starting up and ensuring that we continue to learn. So, what are the key takeaways? Any messages that you want to give to our listeners?
Okay, I wouldn't call it as messages. One thing that has worked for me in when we talk about agile is keeping the software and tool as a last thing, keeping the mutual trust, transparency, and mutual benefit for each other who is involved will help things make life easier and will add more value to our every transaction.
Very nicely put. I love it. I am looking forward to more such conversation. I hope you will be coming back as a guest, SK, to talk in detail.
Thank you. This is my first one and first podcast, and thanks for making it work.
Thank you for appearing, SK. Thanks
you.
a lot for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We thank Siddharth for the music and Malavika for promoting the Software People Stories.
If you like this episode,
Please subscribe on your favorite podcast client.
And spread the word in your network.
if you'd like to share your story,
Contact us at podcasts@pm-powerconsulting.com.